great elements. Sutra. Furthermore, Sariputra, the bodhisattva mahasattva who wishes to calculate the number of subtle atoms contained in the great earth and mountains of the trisahasramahasahasralokadhatu must practice the perfection of wisdom. The bodhisattva mahasattva must practice the perfection of wisdom if, after having cut a hair into 100 pieces, he wishes, by means of only one of these pieces, to scatter into the air the waters contained in the great oceans, the rivers, the pools, and the springs of the trisahasramahasahasralokadhatu, and to do that without harming the aquatic species therein. Suppose that all the fires of the trisahasramahasahasralokadhatu were lit at the same time, like at the time of the great fire at the end of the kalpa. The bodhisattva mahasattva who wishes to blow them out with a single breath from his mouth must practice the perfection of wisdom. Suppose that all the great winds of the trisahasramahasahasralokadhatu arose to sweep away with their breath the entire trisahasramahasahasralokadhatu and all the Mount Sumerus as if they were all just rotting grass. If the bodhisattva mahasattva wishes to stop the force of these winds with his fingertips so that they do not arise, he must practice the perfection of wisdom. Sastra. 1. Mastering the earth element. Question. Why does the Buddha not praise the qualities of the bodhisattva, such as the 6 perfections, but rather he praises this great power consisting of mastering the 4 elements? Answer. Beings are of 2 types. 1. Those who love the good dharmas. 2. Those who love the fruits of ripening resulting from the good dharmas. For those who love the good dharmas, the Buddha praises the qualities. For those who love the fruits of ripening resulting from the good dharmas, he praises great magical power. Moreover, some say that the fame enjoyed by the great elements is well justified. They are infinite, indestructible, and always present in the world. This is why there is nobody who is able to measure their dimensions exactly. People build cities and palaces, but the materials they use are insignificant. The earth itself is very extensive, it supports the 10,000 things and is very solid. This is why the Buddha says here that in order to know fully the number of subtle atoms contained in the earth and the Mount Sumerus of the trisahasramahasahasralokadhatu, and in order to know the respective part beings hold in regard to their actions, it is necessary to practice the perfection of wisdom. Question. The subtle atoms contained in a single stone are already difficult to count. What can be said of the subtle atoms contained in the earth and mountains of the trisahasramahasahasralokadhatu? It is unbelievable that they can be counted. Answer. The Sravakas and Pratyekabuddhas are unable to know them, and, still less, the worldly people, but this number is known by the Buddhas and the great bodhisattvas. Sadharmapundarakajitra. Thus it is said in the Phahawa King. Addressing the bhikkhus, the Buddha said to them, "It is as if a man reduced to dust the earth and mountains of the present trisahasramahasahasralokadhatu. Then, taking a pinch of this dust, he crossed over 1,000 universes of the eastern direction and there set down this dust. Next, taking a second pinch of dust, he crossed over 1,000 universes beyond the first 1,000 and there set down the second pinch of dust. Finally, in the same way, he used up all the dust of the present trisahasramahasahasralokadhatu." Then the Buddha asked the bhikkhus, "Is it possible to know by calculation the number of pinches of dust and the universes?" The bhikkhus answered, "It is impossible." The Buddha replied, "On the contrary, it is possible to attain by calculation the total number of these universes, as well as those in which the dust was not put. As for the number of kalpas that have elapsed since the Buddha taught how AI appeared in the world, it is like the fine dust contained in universes as numerous as the sands of innumerable Ganges. And the Buddhas and the great bodhisattvas, however, know it all. All the more reason when it is only a matter of universes as numerous as the sands of one single Ganges. Furthermore, speaking of immense things is to conform to the human point of view. Thus it is said that the waters of the great ocean are immense when they have the depth of 80,000 yojanas, and Lohia, king of the Asuras, has no problem in measuring it. Question. How does one obtain such a science of measuring by practicing the prajnaparamita? Answer. There are men who, by practicing the prajnaparamita, destroy the conflicting emotions, wrong views, futile chatter, and penetrate into the very profound dhyanas and absorptions of the bodhisattvas. By the purity and extent of their memory and their knowledge, they are able to distinguish the subtle atoms of all the substances and know their number. Moreover, the Buddhas and the great bodhisattvas who have obtained the unhindered liberations do not consider calculations higher than that to be difficult and, still less, that calculation. Moreover, there are people for whom the solidity of the earth and the absence of shape of the mind are wrong. This is why the Buddha has said that the power of the mind is great. By cultivating the prajnaparamita, this great earth is reduced to its subtle atoms. Because the earth element possesses color, odor, taste, and touch, it is heavy and does not have activity on its own. Because the water element has no taste, it is superior to earth by means of its movement. Because the fire element has neither odor nor taste, it is superior to water in its power. Because the wind element is neither visible nor has it any taste or touch, it is superior to fire by means of its movement. The mind which has none of these four things, color, taste, smell, and touch, has a still greater power. But when the mind abounds in afflictive emotions, in fetters and bonds, its power is very small. Impure but good minds have no afflictive emotions. However, since they still grasp characteristics, their power is small also. In adepts of the two vehicles, Sravaka and Pratyekabuddha, pure minds no longer grasp characteristics and, nevertheless, since the wisdom of these adepts is limited, as soon as they leave the pure path, their six organs begin again to imagine and to grasp the characteristics of dharmas, and this is why they do not exhaust all the power of mind. By contrast, in the Buddhas and great bodhisattvas, wisdom is immense, unlimited, always deep in the dhyanas and the meditative absorptions. There is no difference between samsara and nirvana. The true nature of dharmas is true and undifferentiated. Taken by itself, knowledge is both good and bad, but, in those who cultivate the prajnaparamita, it is absolutely pure and free of obstacles. In one moment they can count the subtle atoms contained in the great earth and the mountains of trisahasramahasahasralokadhatu as numerous in each of the 10 directions as the sands of all the Ganges, and all the more so, those contained in each of the 10 directions in universes as many as the sands of a single Ganges. Finally, although outside of the prajnaparamita one is able to conquer the super-knowledge of magic, the latter will never equal the mathematical knowledge of which I have just spoken. This is why the prajnaparamita says that in order to obtain this great power of magic, it is necessary to practice the perfection of wisdom. 2. Mastering the water element. Some say that water is the greatest of all substances. Why? Because at the zenith, at the nadir and at the 4 cardinal points of the great earth, there is no place where there is no water. If the Lokapala gods did not moderate the rain of the heavenly Nagas, and if there